Hi, I'm Joe Navarro, and welcome to People Watching. Today, I'm going to be talking about cults. This is one topic that gets a lot of questions. For some reason, of late, cults has become a major topic, whether you're watching Netflix and some of the shows that have talked about that, or some of the events that have happened in the recent past. The fact of the matter is that cults has been a topic of conversations since the time of Herodotus. The father of history talked about the different cults that he found throughout the Middle East as he traveled. When we talk about cults today, we're really talking about something that's quite different. Back then, it was about a group of people who had a certain belief. So at the time, or much later, Christianity became a cult and was referred to as a cult. But in today's language, cult refers to something where it tends to have a nefarious underlining for the reasons that I'm going to talk about today. So when I studied cults, both as an FBI agent and later in doing research for articles that I've written on cults, one of the things that I found was that there's always a leader who manifests tendencies that are very similar to the malignant narcissist. In other words, they tend to overvalue themselves. They tend to see themselves as special. They tend to certainly cast themselves as having unique answers, and they're the only ones that have the answers to fix problems. But on the downside, anybody that is against them, that challenges them, who doesn't believe as they do, are seen as evil. They're seen as enemies, or they're objects to put down and devalue. And that is pretty much what we see with modern cults, whether we're talking about Jim Jones and Jonestown or some of the other cults that we've seen. We tend to see these individuals over and over who proclaim themselves to have all these answers and see themselves as special, but don't have the capacity to engage anyone in any kind of criticism. They see themselves as having special knowledge. They see themselves as faultless. And even when they make mistakes, they always blame others. One of the things about cult leaders is they never take responsibility for anything. They always blame someone else. These traits we see with the malignant narcissist. They are forever looking for enemies and almost rely on enemies because they can make the people that join the group or the cult come together. Fear, apprehension of people on the outside, enemies, is often used by cult leaders to make the group, the core of the group, come together and become stronger, while using this outside force, which is always really family, friends that are just interested in what's going on, as an enemy that then galvanizes the center. And we certainly saw this in Jonestown, Guyana, and with David Koresh. They see themselves as self-important, and they always have this attitude that they have almost magical powers to change the world, to change politics, to change the well-being of others. Whether they're doing faux miracles, using magic to make them appear to be able to do special healings, the use of incantations, all sorts of things to mesmerize a willing and yielding audience, as well as esoteric material from the Bible and other religious texts to get individuals to buy into the cult, remain in the cult, and then see everybody else as an enemy. In studying cults, one of the things that I look for is how manipulative is the cult leader. And by manipulative, I mean, do they try to control your time, your space, your territory, how you dress, where you can go, what you can eat, who you can associate with, and how much access you have to your family. If any of these things are restricted, then you have a malignant cult leader. There's always something malignant about these individuals, because if you can control somebody's time, if you can control somebody's mind, you have control over them, and you're going to have less resistance. The other thing I often find with cult leaders is they make you sacrifice many things, whether it's your time, intellectual powers, your money, the money that belongs to other people. Cult leaders always take advantage of their followers. They engage in very anti-social acts. When I look at Charles Manson, who was a cult leader, and you realize how malignant he was, how he took advantage of young people, how he manipulated them, and how much he controlled these aspects, including isolation. Any group, any organization that isolates you from your family, from your loved one, from your friends, and makes them out to be an enemy, makes them out to be something to less respect because they are not part of the group, we can say that there's a pathology there, because a pro-social group will want you to spend time with your family, to engage with friends, to enjoy life, and not so restrict yourself. There's always the aspiration that there are secrets, that there's always more at a higher level, but to get there, you have to spend more, sacrifice more, bring more people into the organization, maybe even do things that you would never have thought about, including have sex with these individuals. Many cults, the cult leader exercises the right to have sex with, let's say, the women, even though they may be married to other people. As incredible as that sounds, it goes on all the time under the umbrella of, well, this is a religious cult and so forth. So any group that is always teasing you, that there's always more, that there's something higher, that there's something that's being kept for you, but you have to comply with more and more behaviors, then we say that this is malignant, this is pathological, this is antisocial. If somebody has the secret to a better life, then just hand it over. Don't make it a hard work. One of the things that also stands out is cult leaders will use shame. Over and over, they will shame people publicly to control them, right? So we teach in business that if you have to criticize someone, you do it in private. Not in cults. In cults, it's broadcast, it's transmitted. Everybody knows that somebody did something wrong. This is antisocial behavior, because shame can be very destructive, can be very controlling. So any group that tries to shame you because of your behavior, who you are, and so forth, this is a malignant cult. The other thing they try to do is they try to get you to confess to things that you may have done in the past, to some of your failings, maybe things that you've done, whether it was you stole something from a candy store, you lied about something. Cult leaders love to portray themselves as perfect, and they go out of their way using machines, using also writing instruments, using conversations, using confessionals to get you to reveal things that you may have done wrong, only to use those things against you. That superior knowledge of your frailties, of the things that you have done wrong, will be used against you. And they will be used to control you and rule over you and demonize you. So when I look at any group that demands that you either publicly or even privately confess to some of the things that you've done, I want to know what they're going to do with that information. And most of the time, they turn it and use it against you. And that is antisocial behavior. Cult leaders look for exploitable weaknesses. Maybe you're a little neurotic. Maybe you don't know what to do with your life. Maybe you're looking for a guru. Maybe you're looking for an answer. And look, one of the things that I found was that people join cults because when you have one person that makes all the decisions for you, it negates all the anxiety of life. Life is hard. We have to make sometimes dozens of decisions per day. That causes a lot of anxiety. But when you can turn your life over, and a lot of people do that, they say, you know what? I'll let this cult leader make all the decisions for me. Maybe they'll decide who I'm going to marry, where I'm going to live, what I'm going to do. There's less anxiety because these individuals are making all the decisions for you. The problem, of course, is you've given away free agency. You've given away how we evolved as a species to exercise free agency, to have freedom, to do as you want. And now we're putting all the eggs in the basket and let this individual do that. Have we had political parties that have been cult-like? Just look at the Nazis. That became a cult where only Hitler knew what to do, had all the answers, and look where that led us. So we look at these traits to warn us, is this something that we need to be worried about? Again, keep in mind, they see themselves as faultless. Once you're in the cult, it's always seen as us versus them. They're very concerned about who joins because they don't want people that question what is going on, why things are being done the same way. So they will either discard them, get rid of them, or label them as enemies. And you also have to be mindful of who joins mass movements. So in a way, you can look at a cult as a mass movement. And if you look at the work of Eric Hoffer, which I highly recommend, you know that in every mass movement, there are people who will join because they really want to see changes in their lives. You may want to refer to them as being maybe too gullible, but the fact is that they have good intentions, but then a malignant narcissist will take advantage of them. But who else joins? People who are antisocial, who will use this as an opportunity to take advantage of others. So when we come to the study of cults, when we come to the study of cult leaders, what I look for is, are there behaviors that are associated with pathological malignant narcissism, with psychopathy, overvaluation of self, devaluation of others, taking advantage of others? Do they live several orders of magnitude better off than the people that they're with? Do they engage in magical thinking? Do they take advantage of others? Do they grant everyone freedom to do as they like? Do they require you to do things that are just unconscionable, such as forced sex, even in one case where individuals were forced to scar their body just for the pleasure of the cult leader. We've had cult leaders become national leaders. They can be very engaging, they can be very charismatic, but in the end, you have to look at the totality of their lives And is there a debris field behind them of human suffering? Or is there a debris field of positive traits where everyone has benefited from their work? So this is what we look for. We've always had cults. 2,600 years ago, we have writings of cults. We will always have cults, but we always have to be careful with the malignant cult leader who only values themselves and in fact overvalues themselves and devalues everybody else. So I hope this answers some of your questions about cults and cult leaders. I hope you liked it. Please subscribe, send me questions, and I'd love to answer them for you. Thank you.